Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of Rack the Brain. Today, I'm joined by someone really special. She's not just a change maker, she's a movement in herself. I'm really honored to have Dr. Srimathy Kesan as our guest today. She is the CEO and founder of an aerospace startup by the name of Space Kidz India. Under her aegis, the organization has launched 20 balloon sets, 3 suborbital payloads, and 5 orbital satellites. Dr. Kesan is the only Indian who is an honored ambassador of NASA, European Space Agency, and Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center, Moscow. And last but not least, she's the only woman to have flown in zero gravity flight. Dr. Kesan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Abhinav. That was quite an introduction. Thank you. Very beautiful.
So, Dr. Kesan, I know you have a very busy schedule. I also know that you work 20 hours a day. When do you sleep?
You know what? The best part with me is probably during the day if I'm really, worked for more time, if my body feels that I needed some rest, I quickly put everything aside. I just close my eyes just for 3 to 5 minutes.
Cat nap.
And I'm up, and that's it. That's the more powerful nap I have. I don't think that, I should have like about 5 hours, 6 hours. People say you get burnt out and that's not good for health. But I think I've been living this life for forever, I have to tell you. So I don't feel that, exhaustion is put me off on anything. So I'm good. So this is something that I do. Just that quick 5 minutes when I really am pressured, I put everything aside and that's it. I'm good. I'm good to go.
Great. Dr. Kesan, I want to share this thing with you. I've been listening to almost all the videos I could lay my hands on in the last couple of weeks, and we missed meeting each other when you were in Sydney. Allow me to summarize your life in 4 words, starting with S. So the first word is sports, the second is sword, the third is spatula, and finally, space. And tell me if I'm wrong, you said that moon is your best friend. So let's get started. I'm really excited to hear your story, how it all started, what made you what you are, your mindset. You are just so full of energy. You bring so much of positivity. So let's start from your childhood and then eventually what transpired.
You know what? All my tech talks have been talking only about sport to spatula to space. But today you've given this beautiful word, sports. Yes, sports play a very, very important role in my life. And right from school days, I've been playing all sorts of sports, athlete. And I was a national basketball player, a state athlete, and then moved on to college where I also had taken NCC because I thought probably I'll become an armed forces doctor. I was super excited, just like in those days, a girl child immediately with a step and, she would want to be a doctor. Family of 2 children, 1 engineer, 1 doctor. I mean, similar, so it was mine. I come from a very absolute, humble background, and my parents were like, educated until the 10th grade. But they were excited that I get onto at least grad school. So the whole aim was that I completed graduation. So it was like I was into dance, I was into music. It was just that a girl from a humble background, when she's surrounded by accomplished people. I have, lived in a locality where there were houses which were with doctors, accomplished doctors and scientists. So it actually, I think if I go back to think, probably all those things were a residue in my brain, thinking that probably I have to do something bigger, something that my parents get excited about having a girl child like me. So it was always that I wanted to be the best in whatever I did. And I wanted to give my parents a great life. So I thought, okay, school, college, and then I was a school topper in science. So I was super excited that I was probably getting it the medical stream. it was basketball that took the precedence. And the circumstance, family also was a part where I thought if I did commerce, I would secure a job quickly. And because we were given percentages allocated for sportsmen, national sportsmen, as well as NCC cadets who represented the state at the Republic Day parade. And for me, I was a paratrooper. I was All India silver medal aspiring, plus the best cadet, senior under officer. What more? I know for sure, my job in railways or in banks or any of the services was secure. So that's why I thought, okay, it is going to be critical for my father to take some loans to put me in the medical school. Why not do something different? It wanted to opt for commerce. Again, there was a twist. That's when somebody told me that if you want to become a chef, because cooking was a great passion to me and it came very naturally. I never learned it from anybody. I was very egoistic in one thing in my life, and that's cooking. Because I love to do all the, innovations in my cooking. So somebody who visited us mentioned to me that if you became a chef at, one of the, high sea vessels, you will be paid a huge sum of salary. So you could take care of your parents nicely. So I said, so what do I do? They said, okay, you got to go on catering and stuff. I said, wow, that is something so different. Nobody's ever done this. Okay, let's join a catering institute. So I went to Chennai from Hyderabad. Hyderabad is the place where we belong to. And then I moved to Chennai and joined the catering institute where I was the only girl. And there were 40 boys in the class. And I was there for 3 months and excelled in everything where my professors were barred. And kind of challenges they would throw, and I would just give them some solutions. And they would think, how is this girl? Where she comes from? And she's got such knowledge about these ingredients and everything and how she's able to manage it. And they said, okay, this year's primalist, I think it's you who's going to work this. I was super thrilled. And then comes my mom crying, and she says, everybody is saying that you're becoming a cook. I'm like, it's not a cook, it's a chef. I said, nobody understands chef web. Bori bistar bandlo, chalo, you're out of this college. I don't want anybody to. Anyway, you're going to be cooking your life, after you get married, and it's only those 2-3 years that you're going to be with us. So that's it. Pack your bags, come off with us. I'm like, no, I love this and I want to do something different. See that creating that difference, walking that path less walked or none walked was my forte right from as a child. I loved those challenges. And that was the end of the career in catering. Moved to Hyderabad, then again, commerce. If you believe or not, I never attended one class of my commerce because we had reservations and all that issues. So the college was closed. Straight away, we had to go for examination. So from science to catering to accountancy, I could manage it all. And then before completing my second year, I went to the Delhi Republic Day where I commanded the parade and everything. I got back, the first girl to hold the sword and march. And comes General Krishna Rao who says, we want a girl like this in the armed forces. I'm like, wow, okay. But I know hearts of hearts, that was not going to happen because my father picked up my wedding invitation. The same day, we moved from Hyderabad to Chennai to get married. 18, end of my second year and close to my second sem of commerce. So that's how sports to, sword to spatula. It was like 16 years of sabbatical sitting at home because whatever you have accomplished in your school and college doesn't really matter because when you're wedded to the family. You're wedded to your chores. So it's like here in at least in India broadly, in South India, all the more if it is a very conservative family. I can finish all my chores within like 2 hours or 3 hours. Why don't I do something different? That's where I started choreography. So I've done about 55 rap shows. Yeah, 55 rap shows. Then I lent my voice for documentaries. I had produced about 6 ad films, all this without the knowledge of my family. But then one day, a journalist A good friend, he said, a versatile personality. I have to write about you. I said, don't do that. I want him. But he thought he was helping a friend, but that became disastrous. Everybody came to know that I was doing all of this and this. And I don't think you should be doing all of this. Hello. So again, pack bags and back home.
Just try to imagine this. This all should be made into a movie. I mean, you have had such a dynamic life, and from what I've gathered so far, you are a go-getter, right? You keep really high bar for yourself. You achieve something which an average person can only dream about. And then for a really long time, 16 to 18 years, you were at home, still trying to be doing great things there in whatever way. When did you realize that you are destined for space? How did that even occur to you? I'm really keen to know about it.
Beautiful question, Abra. Beautiful. Okay. Well, after getting back home, it was like, well, this is the satellite. I will show you later. Okay. Sorry about this.
All good.
So again, after that break that I had to be back home, and I did not give up. So all this was fun in my life. I thought, maybe just like any human being, it would just take 5 minutes for me to just bounce back. Either I take the bike or the car, just go for a drive or a ride, and I'm back to normal. And immediately my brain starts working. Okay, now what do we do from home? What do we do that doesn't get everybody's attention? So that way, I started thinking, and one fine day I met a friend of mine here, who was the best candidate of Maharashtra, Srimathy Kesan. She had come to Chennai, and that time what I was doing is I was playing badminton at the club level, and she said, like, what did that start for your life? You were talking so much. You said you want to get into the armed forces and all that. I said, yes. I have a huge army of family, and I'm there as the general. And she starts to laugh, and she said, okay, now, as a friend, if I can do something to you, I would be really glad. We are having a conference in Miami. It's a travel conference, huge conference. And why don't you just go there, see if something clicks? I said, ha. I can't even go to Mumbai. What are you talking about, Miami? We need so many permissions and everything from family and around. So she said, like, try. Maybe this time you would click. And surprisingly, 6 hours before my flight, I get my permissions. And my daughter is a huge supporter. Yes. My daughter is a huge supporter. She said, take care, Mom. This is great. Why don't you just go?
And what year was that?
2009.
Wow. And then what happened in Miami?
So I packed my bags, I go there, and I entered to see it was like a paradise. And everybody so professionally dressed, professional conversations, laptops. I was kind of lost, but I didn't want to express that I was lost. I tried to make up as though I've come there to understand something and was going to take away something. Let's meet an opportunity to meet with the course directors of Kennedy Space Center. And it was such a surprise, I have to tell you, that I didn't move out of that booth. It was just like a child in a candy store. Just stood there observing everything, everybody, talking to them, saying, I want to bring children from India. Because they said, you can bring children from India here for a space camp. We will support you. And that we will support you was a big term for me then. Somebody standing by you to support you. I said, I think the calling, purpose of my birth, I think it's ringing a bell. I said, okay, let me go back home, let me think about it, and let me do something. So that's where the first stint of space happened. Take children from India to Kennedy Space Center, to Johnson Space Center for a space camp. It was not easy, of course, because you did not have a corporate experience, you did not have work experience, you did not have a backing, you did not, in fact, the communication skills, I have to tell you about that. It was not easy because I literally lost my communication skills because you don't talk to your family at home in English always. It's only the vernacular language, and with people outside, it's only you do that, right? And here people are talking big time. The conversations are all you know. Uh,
Anything, space,
very,
spacecraft,
very
and whatnot.
absolutely. And but then I said, this is a challenge that God has thrown at you. Let's pull it out. So that way, got into this industry from home. Like, I was having an organization at home. And it's very funny sometimes when I say the very first time when I launched in, when people said, you have to come on a meeting, can we come to your office? I called him and meeting. And every time somebody called, I was so busy with the kitchen chores. It was like mixer or the grinder. And I'm like, I want to talk to them. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry we disturbed you. You were amidst a meeting. And I'm saying, yeah, I was amidst a meeting with a mixer, with the grinder. So it was super fun. But these I think are great memories. And these were the challenges, like how you could overcome all this. And I think a woman is very, very strong if she thinks positive, if she feels positive and she thinks that she can do anything. It is limitless. You don't want to have boundaries for yourself, right? So
Dr.
that's how.
Kesan, you know what I'm impressed about is, trust me, you make it sound all so simple, but 18 years at home and suddenly you're surrounded by these scientists and big manufacturers and talking big terms just needs a lot of courage and a strong mindset to do it. Not many people would have it, but you are a classic example of someone who you should be inspiring, and you are inspiring thousands of girls out there. I can assure you that.
Thank you, Abhinav, for being very kind. But you know what? If you think that you are embarrassed by some things that you don't know, you cannot go. You have to learn every day. If you
Exactly.
wanted to be a scientist and just go with your degrees, that's a different class altogether. But here, I am not saying I'm a professional scientist. I'm a citizen scientist where I learn every day with the NASA papers, with the ESA papers, as papers from ISRO. So you've got so many out there, and I think Google was a blessing. So it came as a blessing so that you could sit at home, fingertips, you could read all these things. Otherwise, you get lost. And not only that, the best part was I had almost taken 3,500 children to NASA, ESA, and GCTC. There you have these educators teaching the children how a mock satellite is built, a rocket is built, but they start with a water rocket. You know, how the altimeter is placed, how they check the altitude and how the pressure. So all these things, whether the children would take notes of, I would sit there like a kid, take notes of, come back home, go through all these things. So I may not be able to use jargons, but at least I know what needs to be done. And I think what I'm doing is I don't want to become a huge, well-known personality, a well-known scientist. No, that's not my aim. For me, it is the impact that I'm able to create to the girls in the society. They're still, wedding is in their cards when they are 15 and 16. I want to tell those children, dream big. Dream big in the sense you stand out there, show yourself and tell them that when I can do it, when we had no gadgets, when we had no recommendations, no backing, no support, you can do everything now. It's just the will to do. So if you have the will to do, universe will conspire. And I'm 1,000% positive about it.
On that note, where you said, I don't want to be famous, but let me assure you, you are famous, right? People know about you, people know the good things you are doing, and please keep doing that. So, my next question would be, from the point you made up your mind, where you said, let's start Space Kidz India. From that point onwards, how did the first satellite happen? How was the journey? It's hard, right? I'm starting something, taking it to launch, and launching in the space more so. How did that happen?
While I was taking children to NASA ESA, I was awarded by the American Economic Department, and for improving the tourism of the state of Florida. Generally, it's a pride, moment of pride for anybody. Similarly, it was a great feeling to get a certificate from the, US Economic Department or something really big. That time the support from the consul generals, they actually gauged the genuinity of how I wanted to help children. They stood by. She stood by me by giving visas for all the children and everything. So that I didn't know the economics, I didn't know the number game, statistics, and all. For me, it was taking the children there, giving them that education, bring them, because there was a huge gap here. All of a sudden, this certificate actually became a little heavy for me. I thought that means so much money is going out of the country and everything. We have scientists here in India. We have ISRO in India. We have so much space here. Why aren't we not building something here? It was a question that was nagging me continuously. I made a presentation. I took it to the then CM Chandrababu Naidu.
Wow. And he agreed to meet you.
As they made us wait, and they said, like, I said, I want to build a space research park. And before meeting him, I had to meet the undersecretary or somebody, OSD, somebody I had to meet. And he asked me to explain the whole process. So it was like a spiral bound book. And I explained everything. And he was looking at me and project cost. So I was like, maybe around 350 crores. And he saw the presentation I gave with a spiral bind book. He looked at my face and he said, okay, 300 crores. I said, you have to back me.
How audacious, isn't it? But was that number pragmatic or that was just came out of the air?
Very honestly came out of the air because I know the equipment's costed very expensive, the simulators and everything. But I did not expect a question that would be thrown to me straight away at that moment. I didn't know what to do, and I straight away just, And, they being undersecretaries and all that, so experienced. Mr. Pradyumna, oh my God, what respects I have to that man. He said, I understand your passion. I think you need to do a little more homework before you present it to the CM, because I appreciate that, you're able to think that you want to build a miniature version of NASA in India. Truly appreciate. Maybe if you can just work and come back, then we will support you. So I took that not as a negative comment, and I got so excited that they're going to help us. Let's work on it. I got back home. And I slowly thought twice over it. And then I got to understand is need to really show something, to ask for something. You cannot ask somebody without really, yes, you have taken so many children to NASA. All that is fine, fair enough. Are you creativity? Are you crazy? How can you do this? You don't have a degree. This one. I said, I don't have a degree. That's okay. I can speak to the professors. It's just that confidence is one thing. I think I have to add that to what giving me students. So I thought I wrote to a university professor there, and I told him I go to one circle. I said I was laughing. I just have to say it. That time I was not laughing. So he said, Kesan, and how do you think you're going to be launching a space? Handpick students, I will do this. I said, oh, so if you can handpick students and if you can launch satellites, do you know how many satellites would have come from other countries also? I said, I don't know. He started laughing and he said, oh, you have to work hard. So hopefully you get up right. I have people to do it. I said, no, my Indian kids are very smart. I will get them and we will do it. Again, the people who are around the world, they were, they enjoyed the way I was so late in thinking of all this, but somehow I was trying to make all this. So he said, okay, then you start with the high altitude ballooning. Don't go to space immediately. For me, it has to be the best. So I said, no, we'll go to space. I'll go to ISRO. I'll go talk to the scientist. We'll convince him and we'll make satellites. He said, oh, really? Okay. I had picked about 7 kids through a metric for Young Scientist India. This was 2013. So I said, because how do I know that, these kids are good at aeronautics? We have to have a metric. So let's conduct this challenge, national challenge of innovation, where we can handpick. So I was able to handle it. And the best part was, just like how you thought, there were children who did not win the challenge, had similar thoughts building a satellite. And they all came from tier 2, tier 3 towns, which did not have
Wow.
much of an internet access, humble families, no father, some no mother, and they made paper mache satellites. The judges, the jury panel did not understand their emotions because they thought an 8th grade, 9th grader cannot build satellites. I said, with these children, we will build satellites. Worked hard for a year because they all would live in their own homes. We did not have an office. So we would interact only between 11 and 5 early hours because that's when you get a little bit of 3G,
Mhm.
3G and all that. And we said, let's build satellite. And that's where we started. We said, okay, we settled down to launching a high altitude balloon. I thought you just go give a
Wow.
proposal to the, you just go give a proposal, a letter to the airport authority, and you say, okay, launch. I go to the airport authority and they're like, who are you? Are you a scientist? Are you from a government organization? What are you? And I'm like, I'm Srimathy. I don't know what more to tell.
So in one of your TED talk, you mentioned that when you were young, you believed you were Indira Gandhi. I think you do it, right? You don't think about it. You just go ahead, and that's the innocent belief in what you are doing. Anyway, so they challenged you. You're not scientist, and then what happened?
So then they told me, they tried to convince me, saying that you are at home. You're a good homemaker, so be there at home. You're having all these children. Maybe they should grow up and they should study and then you should try something like this. Otherwise, it went off saying at a point, I said, no. I didn't try to say it, don't do it. And I was like a stupid thinking that, they're asking me, they're trying to encourage me and all that. And I was like, no, sir. My kids will do it. We can do it. We've put all the parts together. We've done everything. It's just that your permission. They said, will be put behind bars if anything happens to it. Are you still willing to do it? And I'm like, oh, nothing will happen. We will finish everything. We will only launch it. And they said, oh, to you, ma'am. But you know what? You have to go to the DGCA and you have to get off the application of DGCA. Oh, DGCA, you have to get permission. Air Force, local police station, electric. They give me a whole list. And I'm like, oh my God. They said the launch is in, 2 months. They said, we don't care, but if you don't get all these things, you will not be able to launch. So every day, had to travel at least about 100 kilometers up and down to ask the collector to give us permission. Collector always refused, stating that anything above 500 meters is not permissible. And you cannot do this. And I would stand there and tell, how can a science experiment, how can you, have that science temperament in kids if you don't allow them to explore these opportunities? He will say, I don't have time to talk with you. I have no time for all these things, please stop. Oh my God. Back and forth. Finally, he thought we were launching a hot air. It's not hot air balloon. It's a balloon where we pour helium and we send it and all this. It's like, oh God, this woman, they labeled me balloon lady. And, with literally 2 months, 2.5 months, because we had to push the date and they said we cannot launch on a weekday, then we had to do it on a weekend. Finally, just before the one day before the launch, the DGCA did not get permission because the DGCA did not understand what was happening because it was a normal administrative desk. And they were trying to explain, and they were also similar. So tomorrow was the launch in the morning at 11 o'clock, and until today, Saturday it was, and it was going to be 2 o'clock. If we did not complete it by 2 o'clock, we would get water. It was the abbreviation and all that I learned later. So no time. I was excited because I was learning something new every day. It was like, I continuously started following the DGCA and the director, the minister level next to the minister and defense minister. And he was like the PI's officer. He picked up. He's like, hold this. He's like, he's very happy. I'm not supposed to talk. So I gave 1 second gap. And then I said, hello, sir. Thank goodness. You won't believe that's where we were inspired, and that's what is step into space. Because he typed that. He said, so proud that somebody is taking this mission. his two children. Oh the Lord, that was another struggle, how the payload failed and how we had to do that all overnight and all that. Finally, by 11, we launched at 3:30, the first step into space. And today, we've launched about 20 balloons. 20 balloons, and Rajasthan CM actually invited us to teach their children of Rajasthan, and we launched 3 balloons there. And the government of Seychelles, they had invited us, and we taught those children and launched a balloon there.
So that was the first balloon set, right? That was launched. How many years did it take from inception of Space Kidz India to the launch?
Space Kidz India, see, it was like I was doing it from home. Actually, 2009, I started working for space.
You talked about Azadi said, Shakti said. If you can please simplify for the audience, what was the intent of that? How did the name come into inception? And obviously, I would like to know what are the next steps.
Okay, so from balloon set, slowly we graduate into suborbital mission. So suborbital mission is, it's actually a great book that I've shared with you. It was a payload. A payload is nothing but, electronics integrated in a board, and that has a shell, a cubical shell. That what we did was there was a competition announced by iDoodle Learning. NASA was the launch partner, and Colorado Space Grant Consortium was the launch partner. So we got to hear about that competition and we wanted to participate. So after that, so this mission was very close to our heart because the first time we are getting into very, very close proximity of space. They would send a cube box in which we have to put some experiment that is really outstanding and send it to them, and they would send it to near space, in fact, free of cost. So the free of cost was exciting for us because we did not have budgets and everything was like, self-funded and all that. That was really expensive. What we did, this was a great launch pad, we thought. So what we thought, we put in as many sensors as possible and we'll see what are the data we can retrieve. Anyway, it's going suborbit. Suborbit in the sense, it's a parabola. It doesn't go around the Earth. It goes up and it comes down. It falls into the Atlantic Ocean. It is placed in a canister. It falls in the Atlantic Ocean. The fishermen go there, dedicated fishermen from NASA. They go there, they pick up the canister, and then they send that payload. So there's an onboard computer which actually records all the data and we disseminate it. So we were able to build a nice payload. So those guys got excited because every year I think they have children of the plush universities participating in that. It was their 4th year or so. And somebody coming up with this idea was amazing for them that they afforded us so many times. They said, literally, we fell off the chair. This was the idiom they used. We fell off the chair reading a proposal. So all this was exciting. And we launched that. That was the suborbital mission, super successful. It was called Kalamsat. So that is the lightest payload in the world until now. And it was launched by a Terrier Orion rocket that went up NASA's rocket from Wallops, Virginia. Excited. Okay, now what next? Now we are good. We have to go to the orbit. So went and, rolled in conversation with ISRO somehow. And they are like, who are these jokers? Come on now. Of course, due respects, they appreciated the way we presented and everything, but they said, I think we need to gear up. Your kids need to really do their masters and all that and come back because, with this knowledge, of course, okay, suborbital balloon, all that you've done. Imagine it's 1,000 crore rocket and you want to put your stuff there and if anything happens and that's it. So we cannot take risk. We were like, somehow I tried convincing, but they said, please, you go equip and come back. We are here to support. But then ISRO was trying their 4th stage, where they wanted to put a payload in the 4th stage of the rocket, and that would give data for 2 or 3 days, and then it would enter the Earth's orbit, and it will crumble into pieces. That time, again, I called them and seeked an appointment. We had Chairman ISRO, we had all the stalwarts as ISRO sitting there and talking about this mission. And night setting. I didn't know that someday you'll be sitting in front of all these people whom you literally studied about them, Googled about them, and you're just, in front of them. For me, that was like huge
It's,
victory. It was huge
you feel
success for me.
well,
But the task they gave was you need to build a payload within 6 days. And you need to do testing after that. And subsequently, we have to launch the satellite within 10 days. And but my teammate, he's the lead scientist. He's like, "I don't agree, ma'am. We cannot do it." Which is selfish. This is a great opportunity. We cannot say, let's do something. And it was the Shankranti time. You know how it is. It's a huge festival of India, a harvest festival, and the entire country is literally closed for a week. And we have to give our payload in a week. Imagine we learned A to Z how to do this. We had to, of course, import sensors and everything. West, one person goes there, literally like in the movie. He gets off this flight and, crosses immigration, picks up those components, take the same flight and come back. So, for a 10-gram thing, he had to go all the way because these were the things that we learned, in the open source that was available. And that's how we were able to build. But now it went for testing at ISRO sectors, URSC. The scientists talking to you, helping you. Literally, Somnath took a pencil and he was like explaining how it has to be, the accesses need to be, how you need to integrate this. It was like a masterclass. All this just happened like this. And there we launched our first satellite in the PSLV C-44. So looking back, after that we launched SDSat. This is the SDSat prototype. It's like a soda bottle. And then we launched AzadiSat. This is a prototype. So the AzadiSat, in this journey, we had girls coming together expressing their interests. And it was very, very neat. And middle of the whole process, they vanish. Either it would be family pressure, peer pressure, school pressure, whatsoever pressure of everything. I think this is my calling. Now that we've done satellites and everything, we need to create a movement where girls are getting into this industry. Girls are versatile. When they can do everything, at one go, they can juggle so many things. For satellites, it's have passion and the purpose and engineering knowledge that they just have that experience to understand, calm down, build, rebuild, put the team together. All these things girls are taking that. I said, we need to do something. Rightly, but I get admitted into the ICU. I was on ventilator. It happened badly. So I don't know from where I picked up, and I picked up COVID straight away. And that was the day when we had the initial conversation with ISRO explaining the concept. I said, I will take the meeting. And from the ICCU, I took the meeting and I told them, this is the concept and everything. I definitely need your support. So then the scientist there, the director, Dr. Prakash Rao, he was like, I don't get to hear your smile, Dr. Kesan. It was generally, you smile, but where are you? I needed to hear some extra noises, some beat sounds. I said, I was in the ICCU. He said, are you crazy? I said, you come out alive and everything. I'm sure I'm not going to die. It's just a setback, that's all. Came out, started working.
You know what? If ever a movie is made on your life, it's going to be called Mission Impossible by Dr. Kesan. You have always done something which people, after one or two rejections, people just go back and they feel rejected. But you just keep going. How do you do that?
Yeah. See, because first thing why people get rejected or upset is they feel they are above the concepts that they build. And they feel they are the best in what they do. Which, yes, of course, there are two ways, positive and negative. If you think that, you are the best and nothing can be beating you, no, that's wrong. You need to understand to be that best, you need to really work hard, come, and you have to prove yourself million times. Okay, there is nothing called the best and the end. No. Every time there is something and you need to be the best for that. And if you're not going to get embarrassed when you fail, because that is where people feel bad. What is this one going to talk about me? What is that one going to talk about me? God is your punching bag. The universe is your punching bag. Just know it. Okay, not this today. Tomorrow there is something big. So every day I keep thinking of what is the big picture. Don't be happy and satisfied with small pictures and small checks.
Beautiful. Doctor, I'm conscious of the time. My two questions are, what is the mission that you are on to? 108 countries, 12,000 girls. I'm really keen to know about it and help us understand what is the aim of that project.
Okay, that is Mission Shakti Sat. In fact, after Azadi Sat, where we built a satellite 750 rurals of India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, said we need to do something big. I mean, girls everywhere are challenged. Women have the same challenges all over the world. Color, just skin tone, everything is different. We need more women in this industry. Right from the beginning, I've been talking about it because there's a very thin line between a missile and a rocket. And if it's only going to be men, you know what's the result. And if it's going to be a mix, then you know what's the result. And that's what we need because we don't need to have wars everywhere. So I said, let's bring in, our children from across the globe. Let's have a satellite built this time, not to the lower orbit, but to the moon. Because just like the waxing and waning of the moon, a woman's life is. But yet, the moon doesn't stop in radiating light, emitting light. And similar to a woman, she never stops smiling. She never stops supporting and standing by her family. So that's why Shakti Sat is going to the moon. Anywhere from any part of the world, every girl child knows that her piece is on the moon. And that's going to give her hope. That's going to create that toughness in her. That's going to make her a leader for her community. It starts from voicing for her community, and then it will go, but she's going to be voicing for the country. So we want more women leaders, and this is not just building a satellite, but it is building a moon.
What an amazing thought. And last but not the least, Dr. Kesan, if you were to give one message to the youngsters who are listening to this podcast, what would you say?
It's my favorite quote: no pain, no gain, and don't fear of pain. Because if today you are able to do it, there are millions who are going to follow. So if you want the millions to follow, you need to give in something. Let that be your pain. And that pain is definitely going to be a gain for so many. So believe in yourself, keep marching. Don't think about the results, just keep working. Keep that smile, get up, dress up, show up. That's my mantra.
Very well said, Dr. Kesan. And look, I learned a lot from you today. And I can assure you, there is so much which we have not covered because of the shortage of time. I just want to thank you to you. I know you are busy, but really today's session was very important. And I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways for the youngsters who are listening to the podcast. For the youngsters, for the parents who are listening to this, I just want to tell you that if you like this podcast, if you enjoy learning from this session, please do share with your friends. Let them know there's so much beautiful work happening, and Dr. Kesan is the one who is making that change. So let's be part of that change and see how we can help Dr. Kesan in our mission to grow the awareness on space projects across the globe. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kesan. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Abhinav. Thanks for having me in your show. Truly enjoyed, racked my brain.
Thank you.